Good afternoon. It's 9/11, the 11th of September, and I'm here in Ballyjamesduff outside Liffey Meats. And this meat plant is owned by Frank Mallon. Frank entered the top 100 rich list in 2016 with an estimated personal fortune of over 40 million euro. But he would be a small player. The real big players are actually, of course, Larry Goodman, who owns ABP, Allied Irish Beef Processors, the largest beef processors in Europe. And also you have the Keating family who own Keepack, and the Creeley family who own Dawn Meats. And I've been chatting here to the people who have been protesting. It's now into the 15th day of protests, and Adrian is going to chat to me now about what the general mood is of the farmers here on the ground and what has been happening. So Adrian, thanks very much for agreeing to chat to me. Adrian, 15th day of protests here at Liffey Meats.
Yeah, it's really ridiculous. That's the 15th day. This could have been all settled 3 weeks ago. The factories wanted to come to terms with the farmers and have talks if the farmers lifted the pickets. Yes, the farmers lifted the pickets, but it just let the factories move in and continue their business and to build up their meat, and then they had the last laugh at the farmers. First of all, I want to say from my own heart, it's a sin and a pity to see the family, the members that owns the factories, family members that owns the factories and their workers. It's a pity to see them losing hours, losing wages, losing income. On behalf of the farmers, we do apologise, but at the same time, we're losing income for many's a year now. Cattle was worth as much 15 years ago as they are worth today. What a shame. Meal has gone up, everything has gone up. Fertiliser has gone up, vets bills has gone up, electricity bills, revenue, everything.
Yeah.
Accountants, everything like that has gone up.
So Adrian, you're telling me that you're getting the same price for your cattle as you did, say, around 1995, 1996. I know that's really when cattle prices peaked.
Yes, people is getting as much today, them days as they are now today, like.
But the bills are modern
The
day
bills are much, much, much higher.
And I suppose the farmers that I've spoken to in the last couple of weeks have been telling me that they are struggling to make ends meet and they cannot see a future for themselves in beef farming.
But there's farmers and they've absolutely no other income. They're working on the land, their wife is working on their land, they have children to keep, they have children to put through college, and there's nothing coming in, only bills.
No income.
Well, they might kill a few cattle a couple of times a year, but like there's an awful lot of bills to follow up from them cattle.
Well, I grew up on a farm myself, and back in those days, you know, life was very simple on the farm, and the only thing that you ever had was a blue card for each animal that was kind of kept in the drawer. But nowadays, it's not that easy, is it?
No. The first thing you have to do when you go out and buy a suck calf of your neighbour, you have to get a permit. And then you have to get him TB tested that year, and every year you have to get every animal TB tested while they're in your herd. There's an awful lot of red tape now on different things, like.
Now, one of the issues that has come up in relation to the price of animals is the red tape around cattle movements and all of that kind of thing. Could you explain a little bit to the people that are not from a farming community, what are the restrictions on the movement of cattle?
If you sell a heifer or a bullock or a cow or a calf, if the calf is over 6 weeks old, you have to get a permit done up and you have to send it off to the agricultural office and you have to get it back and you have to move that animal in within so many days.
And also, isn't there a rule then on the movement, the 70-day rule on the movement of cattle, that you cannot bring animals to a factory within 70 days?
Yes, they have to be in your herd for 70 days.
They have to be in your herd.
Close.
Yes.
Close.
Now, the other thing is this, that there is a premium price paid for cattle that are under 30 months as opposed to cattle that are over 30 months. So that's difficult for farmers to try and finish cattle under 30 months. Tell me a little bit about that.
It can be very difficult, but I think cattle will be killed regardless of they're under 30 months or over 30 months. I think if there's a shortage of cattle, I don't think the age comes into it.
But there's a difference in the price paid to the farmer.
Oh, there would be, yeah.
Yes, there is it. And of course, there's the whole issue of grading as well. Now, cattle are graded, and the main grades are E, U, R, O and P. E is the top grade, and it's well documented in the media the issues that farmers have with the grading of the cattle. Many farmers believe that it is a very, very unfair system and that the cattle are actually downgraded in the factories. So within each of those cohorts, say a U grade, there are several other classifications and all carry different prices. So many farmers believe that the classification of the animals by the factories is resulting in them getting a lower price for their animals. So 15 days of protesting here, Adrian, where do you think it's going to go?
Well, I think this can be settled inside of 2 to 3 hours. If the right people, with a bit of common sense, sits down around the table and never mind asking the farmers to lift their pickets till the talks is over. Sit down around the table, negotiate the 3 or 4 different issues the farmers has with yourselves, and just cop yourselves on and come to an agreement with the farmers. I'm sure every farmer in this country will compromise with yourselves. You're trying to get the you were supposed to have a review last Saturday. No, it didn't take place. You were supposed to have a meeting Monday. No, it didn't take place. Like, what's going on? Like, the farmers are willing to compromise with you, but you're just, the farmers are being abused. Lift your pickets and we'll talk. But lift your pickets and you'll get in cattle, sever the load of cattle to kill and store up your fridges again. And then what happens? Oh, the farmers are being laughed at again. But I can tell you, talking to different farmers, I don't think the pickets are going to be lifted until the talks come to an agreement. And I think them talks can come to an agreement inside 2 or 3 hours at the most. And let everyone get on with life and get the job sorted out, and everyone will be back to work, and sure everyone will be smiling, and hopefully there'll be a big party at the end of it.
Well, I suppose that's it in a nutshell. And I suppose the point that Adrian is making is that talks which were to go ahead last Monday to resolve this issue collapsed when Meat Industry Ireland pulled out, and the farmers are reluctant now to remove the pickets from the gates because they saw what happened the last time in early August when they removed the pickets from the gates. The negotiations that were done actually didn't address the issue of pricing to any great extent. It just touched it around the edges, as it were. The other thing that happened during those talks was that the Competition Authority said the price of cattle couldn't be discussed at those meetings, and so that was the key issue, which is kind of really ridiculous. So what Adrian is saying there is that this issue can be resolved in a matter of a couple of hours, sitting around the table and just meeting the farmers' demands to pay them a fair price for their produce. Now, there is another issue which I want to raise, and it's an issue of concern to farmers around the country. Injunctions were placed on a number of farmers. They have been given documentation saying that the injunctions are lifted, but that is a legal term. The injunction has been lifted, not struck out. So farmers are telling me that they're not prepared to enter into any settlement with the meat factories until all of those injunctions are struck out. Because if a settlement is reached and everybody packs up and goes home, there is a real danger that those injunctions can be re-entered. And that is actually in the documentation. I've read it myself on Agriland in a report where it said that the High Courts have granted leave for those injunctions to be re-entered at any time. So the farmers are telling me that there will be no settlement of this dispute until every single injunction that was placed on farmers is struck out. And it's not actually the injunction that's the problem, it's actually the attachment to the injunction. You know, what's really in the fine print of the injunction, that's really what's key. And I suppose I could mention here at this stage that there is a lady here who has been protesting, and she is actually the only woman in Ireland who has had an injunction placed on her. So it has happened here at Liffey Meats in Ballyjamesduff, the only woman in Ireland to be served with an injunction. And I suppose I'm a bit guilty of interviewing men as I go around the country, but the fact of the matter is that the women that I've spoken to don't want to go on camera for various reasons, and I suppose that's it. But this is not just about men, this is about women, and present here this evening there's a very large crowd. Many people are actually standing around behind the camera, and we have families, we have a lot of children and teenagers, mothers and fathers, and I suppose really what they're fighting for is the survival of the family farm, because this really is down to the wire. It's about surviving on the family farm, and the main competition that they're actually up against is the big feedlots, the big factory feedlots that are feeding thousands of cattle that are being fed grain that's coming in from South America. 5 million tonnes of grain shipped across the Atlantic last year to feed cattle in Ireland and feedlots. I mean, the environmental movements needs to come on board now and support farmers, and support farmers in the fight for the family farm. They're producing a premium grass-fed product which is being produced in a very, very environmentally friendly way, and in a way that's in harmony with the environment and in harmony with climate. It's these big factory feedlots that are so detrimental to the environment. And the question I pose is, if you have a feedlot with several thousand cattle in it producing millions of litres of slurry, where is that slurry going? So it's time now for the environmental groups to come on board and support the farmers, the family farmers that are producing grass-fed beef. So, just a little bit of housekeeping. I just want to thank you so much for... You want to say another thing? Yeah. I'll come back to you now in 1 second, Adrian. Just a little bit of housekeeping. I'd really welcome if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel. I need 1,000 subscribers to be able to go out live on the YouTube platform. And the reason why I'm doing this is because the meat industry have very deep pockets. They're able to pay for the very best spin doctors that money can buy, and the farmer's voice is not being heard, and that's why I'm actually going around the country talking to the farmers to give them an opportunity to have their voice heard. But their voice can only be heard if you will kindly share this video. The other thing that I want to say is a big thank you to Deirdre. Deirdre has given up her afternoon to come with me to do all the camera work, and when she goes home this evening now, she's a lot of work to do to edit and prepare our video for YouTube. So a big thank you to Deirdre. And Adrian, you want to say something now? I'll leave the last word to Adrian.
On behalf of myself, the lads at the top tables, as you say, can you please do us a favour and get together and try and compromise with yourselves and the farmers? There's different organisations up there. Please, and I'm saying please, try and come to some agreement and come and compromise with the farmers. And I'll guarantee you, every picket in this country will be over inside of an hour. Thank you very much.